It says we're live now.
Awesome. Happy Thursday, ladies.
Happy
Happy Thursday.
Thursday. Yay.
Thursday.
How's everybody doing today?
I'm well.
All is good. All is well.
That's good. The weather here, so just FYI, two of us are in Maryland and two of us are in Pennsylvania. But the weather in Maryland, at least where I was fabulous today. I have on kind of like a summery thing because it was warm. I'm calling it summer, so it was beautiful here. How was your weather this week?
Same. It was gorgeous here today too. I was talking to my daughter earlier. I said I've only got to spend maybe 10 minutes in the beautiful weather, but it was still worth it. It was gorgeous out today. So I welcome it.
Awesome. Well, we are back. We are so thankful to be back another Thursday and looking forward to a wonderful discussion today. We have a very special guest. We have my police chief here in Howard County, Maryland, Lisa Myers, with us today. And we are going to discuss what sisterhood looks like for her and what girlfriends look like for her and how she shows up for women in the community and her network. So looking forward to our discussion. We have Lisa Myers. I'm going to turn it over to Marcy for her introduction.
Good evening, Marcia Penn or Marcy. Another thankful Thursday. I'm grateful to be here, and the weather in Philly, the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, is just great.
Oh,
I echo what Marcy had to say about the weather. It was awesome. I'm a May baby, so I like warm, not hot, but I like spring weather. So thank you all who have come back to join us again for another Thursday of Good Girlfriend Talk. Thank you for coming to our virtual living room. To our new viewers, welcome. We're glad to have you. I like to say, as I always do every week, we are not experts. We are just good girlfriends loving on each other, sharing information, and hoping that we're a blessing to you or someone else. So thank you for showing up, and I'm ready to jump into our topic.
Yes.
awesome. Well, welcome, Lisa. We are so excited to have you today.
Thank you so much. I am really excited to be here. I just absolutely love this idea of getting together with good girlfriends because we can't have enough.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And it looks like another one of our good girlfriends just popped in. So we're going to let her introduce herself.
Perfect timing.
Hi, Madam Police Chief.
Hi, Regina.
I was actually on another call and we were talking about about body cameras. But anyway, so I'm here now. Hello, I'm Regina Clay, and I'm glad to be a part of the Good Girlfriends. And I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm glad to see all of you. And I look forward to hearing from our police chief.
Well, you look fabulous.
You do.
Dana. You're looking fabulous tonight. So I'm glad you could make it over here to hang out with us. So, Lisa, we wanted to talk to you tonight and find out, just a little bit about what does sisterhood look like for you? Like, how important is it to you, and what does it look like? How do we show up in your life? So,
Okay.
anything you can share about
So,
that?
sisterhood is extremely important to me. One thing I can say about myself and many of the women in our lives, we are so busy sewing into other people, or we're busy with the 9 to 5, taking care of things and making decisions. But when I have an opportunity to be in a space with my sisters, whether it's my sisters by blood or my good girlfriends, that's really the time when we take care of each other, when we feed into each other. No stress, no pressure. If I have food in my teeth or, if my belly's poking out, we're still there just loving on each other and really just enriching each other. And for me, I look forward to that. Before I became the chief, I used to love lunchtime, because that was my time when I would get together with my good girlfriends at work. There was no discussion about what happened during the workday. That was just our hour in the day to just let our hair down and be silly and really support one another. And it has just been a huge blessing to have that in my life.
Were those girlfriends police, police or law enforcement
Some
personnel,
of them,
or were they not? Were they typically non police?
so some were police officers, some were, just my girlfriends, my sister. I'm very close to my sister-in-law. My husband always says when I go out, he'll like, look, stop talking to people, because I'll just randomly strike up a conversation with anyone. I feed off of that. So for me, it can just be whoever's there for the day. We just kind of get together and let our hair down. If I sense sometimes if I'm at work and somebody maybe's having a tough time, just, hey, come on, let's go out to lunch. Just kind of chill a little bit and just kind of talk.
Have been blessed to have one of those lunches with the police chief before she was the police chief. And I valued that time. I worked for county government, and we would go out and we wouldn't talk about county business. We would talk about more personal stuff. As a matter of fact, Lisa tried to introduce me to someone.
Oh,
Oh, oh.
See, that's what sisterhood
Tell us
is
more.
about.
yes.
No more, Marcy.
She does have some matchmaking skills.
But I've always enjoyed conversations with Lisa. And one of the things that I remember is when, when our county executive got elected, and we were like, you got to be the police chief. And we had that sister girlfriend time together, where we came together and say, how can we support you in this role? Because we know that this role is not necessarily going to be, easy. I don't know how welcoming it might be, and those type of things. So if you want to just talk about how you, Cara, I hope I didn't go off the script.
Oh no, we don't have script. There's no script.
But just how it felt when you thought that possibility was coming into place, and what that meant to talk to your girlfriends about it.
So it's kind of funny. When I first talked to the executive about the opportunity, a lot of it was self-doubt. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I can help the next chief that you bring in and get them up to speed. And, it was my good friends that really reminded me what I brought to the table, and really encouraged me and cheered me on every step of the way. And I can't think of a time when I maybe thought that I couldn't do something, that my girlfriends weren't in a corner like, look, you the baddest thing around, you go for it. And, really offered that support. And that was just so huge for me. And like, one of the big things I try to do now is I do try to give back in way of mentoring other younger women, particularly in the workplace, because it's a non-traditional profession. And sometimes I think there's this thought that when we talk about mentoring, that we're only talking about our successes. But I think it's just as important to talk about our failures, the things that we struggle with, because it helps people to see more of themselves in you. So for me, I feel like it's as important for me to have those good friends or those mentors that feed in me, but that I'm also kind of giving that back to other women in my life. And it has just been hugely, hugely beneficial. And it's something I get from my girlfriends that I don't get when I'm spending time with my son, or spending time with my husband, or if I'm in the workplace. It's kind of our own space.
So you may have answered this question in your discussion, but before we got on camera, I started to ask you about how you feed your spirit, because I know that your role is not an easy one. Your walk is not an easy walk. And so what is it that you do, to care for yourself?
So I'm a big Netflix junkie. And, believe it or not, all day long, I'm constantly reading or in meetings or whatever. And when I come home, I love going out to dinner with my husband and son, just having conversation about mindless banter. And then when I get home, I mean, I think I've probably binge watched just about every show on Netflix. It's just a great escape for me to just, kind of watch different shows and just kind of relax and enjoy it. So that's been what kind of helps me to relax, I think, the most.
Mm.
So how about like with a chat? Well, a lot of us have challenging careers, but within your career, how and during this pandemic, how have you been able to keep in touch with your girlfriends? Have you had like a lot of Zoom calls? Like you see what we do, we're on Zoom. And I have to say, I mean, at least for Jeanette and I, that's how this all started. Jeanette and I probably have talked out of the 365 days as of today that we've been in the pandemic. We've probably talked 360. There may have been 5 days that we have not actually spoken to each other in this whole year. But so how do you keep in touch? Are you doing Zooms? Are you guys just doing check-ins, texting? Like,
Usually texting or phone calls. When I get in the car in the morning, when I'm riding to work, I'm talking to a girlfriend. If I'm going to and from to a meeting, I'm calling on the phone real quick. Look, I got 10 minutes. Let's talk about this particular thing. So most times it's talking on the phone. If the weather is nice, we'll get together and maybe go out and walk or something like that, just to get out and get some exercise together. But a day does not go by that we're either not texting or calling each other just to kind of check in and see how things are going.
That's good. I think especially during this time, it's important that women, stay connected and really reach out. And if we can't be in person, like you said, the phone is good just to hear, sometimes text. If you can't, text is always good, but it's nothing like chit chatting, at least for me. I love chit chatting with my girlfriends on the phone, and really connecting. You can hear a lot even across the phone, even if you don't see their face. So
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to jump in because Chief Myers, you came in a very historic year for Howard County, the county that we live in, right? We elected our first African-American county executive. We elected our first African-American state's attorney. We elected our first African-American sheriff. And then you were appointed the first African-American woman chief of police. Come on.
That's a big
Black
deal.
Girl Rising.
Yeah.
So that was a very, very that was very, very historic. And so I think that was it was challenging. So how did it feel to have people celebrate you in that historic time? That's what I wanted to say.
Got it. It was kind of surreal at times for me. I'm just the same person that I was the day before. So I'm like, nobody really cares that I'm now the chief of police. It's really not that big of a deal until sometimes I maybe go out in public and people will go, oh, aren't you the chief of police? And I realize in many ways what that means, particularly within the department for other younger Black females, because them like myself for many years never really saw anyone who looked like me in that role and never really envisioned it. And it was kind of funny, even though I had spent 28 years in the police department, when I came back as chief, for a little bit, it was like kind of a little like an awkwardness with a woman. Oftentimes, my chief of staff would say, oh, hey, can I carry that for you? And I'm like, no, I can carry it myself. But it was kind of getting used to seeing someone in that non-traditional role. But it's a huge honor. Definitely it's one I've grown in, and it's kind of funny, like I've learned so much over the last 2 years. When I first started, oftentimes I would, kind of look at how people did it before me, how the men did it before me, how they spoke, how they organized things, and something kind of felt a little off. And it wasn't until I started doing it the way things were natural for me, that I began to feel more kindred, I think, with the position.
Yeah.
So I have to say, Chief Myers, that I'm over here jumping out. I'm overjoyed that you're here with us, because you are paving the way, making space for other women to come behind you, because you are at first. So what advice do you have for women that, are on the fence, or that, see you, like you are a sightline for all of us, right? Like this is something that someone can aspire to do and be, right? And realize. So what advice do you have for young women that, want to be the chief of police in any municipality?
So I think a lot of it is reaching out, finding those mentors, finding those people that you can talk to kind of help to guide you, kind of what we talk about with the sisterhood. Oftentimes when I talk to women, they'll feel like, well, I don't know if I'm quite qualified. And many times they're more than qualified. Sometimes we almost undersell ourselves. So a lot of that, I think, is really just about linking up with people who are kind of walking in the direction that you're interested in walking in, and just kind of learning from them and finding out about opportunities. But I would definitely encourage a lot of women to look into it. It's a great profession.
Did you have any female role models when you were coming along in your career, or were they mostly male mentors?
No, I definitely did. I would probably have to say my first female role model was my mother. And I just say that from a standpoint of my mother knew how to talk to everyone. You could put her in a room and she could just pull people in and make them feel special. And it was something about that I knew early on that I wanted to emulate and be that way. So that was probably one of my first role models in terms of how to treat people. And then, when I got to the police department, there was another supervisor that was there at the time. Karen Burnett, and she was definitely a role model for me. She was the first one who really kind of helped to guide me and give me good direction on the path that I needed to go on. So I was fortunate to have a lot of good people in the profession that I could look up to.
That's good. Wow. What about now? Have you created anything formal at the police department to bring in more women, or is that something that they're doing, or
So like,
kind of mentoring for women? Like, what does that look like over there?
So we're always looking at ways to try to mentor up and draw women to this profession. Before COVID hit, we did a forum where we brought women in who were interested in law enforcement, just a chance to learn a little bit more about the profession. It was kind of like a recruiting day. And that was really rewarding to talk about those issues related to women and encouraging them to come into the field. So we certainly continue to do that.
That's good. That's good. Well, that's a lot of talking about police stuff to me. I want to talk about like girlfriend type stuff. I want to get back to like you were trying to hook Regina up with somebody.
Right, that's
what girlfriends talk
Oh my gosh. I should have never mentioned it.
No, story.
Okay, well, I'm gonna tell my part of it. You can tell your part of it, Lisa. We could talk about it. So basically, Lisa and I were talking, I had met Lisa's husband and son at an event, and I was like, I said, it's tough out here for a sister, a single sister. And so she was like, well, I think there's somebody in the department. I was like, oh, look, okay, don't get offended. I was like, a policeman? Oh no, I dated one of those before.
But he was cute. He was cute.
He was. And so Lisa made the connection. Like, she told him about me. She told me about him. I had to see his picture first. We went through all and that was before Facebook, I think, Lisa. No, it wasn't before Facebook, but I don't think I was on Facebook yet, or maybe I was. I don't know. I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, so she had to hunt down a picture, all that kind of stuff. And then he and I went out to lunch.
Nice. See, that's the kind of stuff I like to hear about. I'm always trying to.
Right.
And also, Lisa, I thought I knew about all the men that Regina might have met out there. So that was a new one. That's why I wanted to hear about that.
You missed that lunch date.
Right. And Marcy, you caught that. It was a lunch date. That was it. That's
I
all.
did. I do. Sometimes I'm quiet, but I'm paying attention. Right?
I know you paying attention, Marcy. But I mean, he and I are friends. We're friends today. I mean, we see each other all the time in different places. So
back to that. I mean, this is what girlfriends talk about. Back to that. There are a lot of probably eligible men that are police officers, and sometimes women may say, just like Regina, like, oh no, a police officer. Woo. But just saying that there might just be some eligible men in the police force for single ladies out there to consider.
Nice guy. I thought they had very similar traits, very caring, passionate people. Sometimes the energy isn't always there, and that's good too.
Right.
And Lisa, truly, I truly say this, I think it was just timing. Right. And so, okay, so let me go here. Oh Lord, please don't let this be on my page. But anyway, I just think it was timing. It was just timing, and then if you try to circle back to it, because both are still single, some people are just not willing. You know what I mean? So that's what happened.
So that's good. So
see, that's why you have your good girlfriends. They set you up with somebody else.
Right. I was just gonna say, how do we feel about our girlfriends setting us up with people?
Yeah. See, I consider myself a matchmaker.
I'm
always.
Do you?
Yeah.
Who have you introduced me to?
You, Regina.
What?
She said, not you.
You up with anyone, but that's because I personally don't think Regina needs any help hooking, being introduced to anyone. She's like you, Lisa. She talks to everyone. She meets people. So she meets people on a regular basis. So I don't personally think that she has an issue. It's always nice to introduce her to someone, but Regina knows so many people that she's not.
She's social.
Yeah, she's very social. But for those who may not and may need an introduction, and I always think that I'm a great matchmaker, but I've been told I'm not that great at it. But I'm always intrigued.
Oh, Jeanette, did she was she not that great with you?
No, we've never gone down that road.
I have a couple of successful marriages out there. So I feel like that's not bad. A couple.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have a reference point, but also, like, I didn't hold Lisa accountable because it didn't work out. That's the difference. That's where, you have to have a maturity level with somebody, right? So, Marcy, if you have someone, I'm not going to hold you accountable if we only go to lunch.
We'll keep that in mind. You heard her call,
and Philly is only 2 hours away.
She's like, Marcy, if you have to introduce.
Right.
And the other reason I can't help Regina with, meeting anyone is because my circle, she already knows. Her circle is way bigger than mine, but anybody I would introduce, she already knows them anyway. So she would have.
That's true.
They would have already happened. But Regina, you know, my circle's here. She's on the outside and knows everybody else plus this group. So, you know. Now,
But who knows us better than our good girlfriends?
exactly. Now, Jeanette, I mean, I've never tried to introduce you to anyone. That it just wouldn't work out because it would be tricky because
Right, it'd be a little tricky.
Lisa, Jeanette is divorced, but her former husband, I'll say, is a very dear friend of mine. I consider myself his older, well now younger sister. So, you know, it'd be tricky for me to try to introduce her to someone.
He's a good friend of all my good girlfriends.
This is true. This is true.
Probably
So
by
that
design.
means I can find somebody for Jeanette then.
That's right.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Right,
And Jeanette doesn't mind traveling.
right.
either.
Although he probably knows the folks in Howard County too.
Yeah,
Because
Lisa,
that's where his family is from.
he's from Howard County.
I think you're in trouble, Jeanette.
Right.
Your circle's getting smaller, Jeanette.
Philadelphia is very small, so is Howard
is.
County. That would be
It is.
it would be somebody that he knows.
Right.
Um,
Right.
You expand that friend base.
Yeah.
Say again?
He's not like Regina. He knows everybody. So anybody we would know, he would know them, and then he knows everybody else too. So it's hard, you know, to get away from someone that he
Do I know Jeanette? Do I know Jeanette's ex?
Probably does.
Your brother does. Your brother knows. Your brother
Oh, my
knows.
brother knows him.
Yeah.
He knows my brother.
Yeah, he's younger. Her ex-husband is younger than a couple years younger than me, which is closer to my age or Reggie's age. So your brother,
Okay, got you.
and they know
All right.
they know each other pretty well.
Oh, okay.
All in the
That is
family.
so funny. It's
All
in
in
the
the family.
All in the family.
That's okay. There are lots of other women watching. I'm looking at our chat at our Facebook Live. So yeah, there are a lot of other women that are watching. They may
If this turned into a matchmaking session, this we
Yeah.
probably
I know. How did we go
shut
to
down
how did we go
Facebook.
here?
we can move away from that.
I know. Good.
We
can
shut
move away from
Facebook
that.
all the way
Are there-
down.
Are there Cara, are there comments or questions in the chat at all? Perhaps
That's so funny.
perhaps we should
There is a comment. This is funny.
Oh my gosh. Look, I'm like, at least I'm like,
Wait. Lisa's cousin, Cheryl Green, who she said, find someone for your cousin. He's talking about her.
Right. She said, since you're busy matchmaking, hook a sister up, your family, your
I
cousin.
like that. I like that. There you go. There you go, Lisa.
I tell you, I love my cousin. She got real high standards now.
As she should, but that's okay. That's right. That's right, Cheryl. Have your high standards, and Lisa will take care of that.
you know what? Let's talk about this. We're talking about matchmaking. Okay, what about referring girlfriends to jobs
There you
or
go.
positions? That's
Okay.
another. Okay, we're gonna get off the matchmaking.
Yeah,
Look, I know how to pivot. Let me pivot because y'all. Yeah, how do you feel about referring people to positions or jobs, or what's your feeling about that? Marcy, you're shaking your head. Wait a minute, Marcy.
No,
Go ahead.
no. I'm just saying, like you're saying, just referring a girlfriend to a position or job. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea. You know,
I think so too.
yes, you know, because again,
As long as they're
sometimes
qualified, as long as they're qualified for the position that they're going for, which typically are.
right.
Uh-oh, did we lose Lisa?
We lost Lisa for a minute.
But yeah, typically if they're qualified for the role, I'm all for it. I'm pushing for them.
Right.
I am too.
Right. 'cause
I
just
think that's
like,
important.
Because one of the things that even Lisa was saying that sometimes, you know, women of color undersell themselves. So sometimes you may see a position and you have a friend or an acquaintance or girlfriend that, you know, listen, I think this would be perfect for you. Sometimes you do need somebody else to see it or to work it through with you. So I think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so oftentimes, you know, we do sometimes get in our own way.
Yeah. And
So
like you said, and what we were talking about before, we know our girlfriends, so we know their skills and we know their transferable skills too. So if we see a position, even if on paper it doesn't look like they might be qualified, but we know they could do the job because of maybe outside activities, volunteer efforts, we've seen them perform in a role. I think it's important for us to recognize those things and push our girlfriends along because, you know, we know them and sometimes it's like Marcy was saying, we may not think we're qualified or we may not think that on paper we can get a role, whereas we look at the other, we'll look in and say, hey, I know that you can do that role. I know this is you. And we need to push them. Just like Lisa was talking about, that her girlfriends have always pushed her along.
Right.
We need to do that for each other as well.
Well, fear
Absolutely.
can be crippling. Like, will keep you from living your best life. So
Yeah.
that's where your good girlfriends come in to say, oh, no, 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 no. You're going to take, you got
Right.
this, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody needs that encouraging word, that support. And when you have good girlfriends that you trust, and you think provide wise counsel, then that's meaningful when you have someone supporting you and encouraging you to go forward for the promotion, or live the dream that you've always wanted to live, or whatever. So because fear can keep you paralyzed. You need your girlfriends to help.
Oh, yes.
And
I
if you're
agree.
if you're in a position to hire your girlfriend, I
Right.
think it's important if they're in a position for the role, that you can hire them, and that everyone can have a professional relationship and still get out of work and talk about whatever afterwards. I have a great relationship with my current manager. We've become quite friendly, but we talk business during the day. As soon as we are finished with business, we are all about talking about whatever, online dating or whatever, whatever we're talking about. We're talking about that after hours, but we keep it very professional at work. We get our work done. We are high achievers. And, so I think that you can still have a relationship and still work together as well. It's been proven by Marcy. Don't you work with someone that you are friendly with? And
I do. I work with her and for her. I do indeed.
I do. I have.
yeah.
And my last, just before I got this new position, I worked for someone who's a very, very dear friend of mine.
Yes.
And she an opportunity came up. There was an opportunity in her organization, and she was able to hire me as a consultant. And we worked together. And when we were at work, we were doing work, and then it would be off work, and then we'd be like, "Girl, let me tell you about this. And let me tell you about that."
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I
Now
think
that's
it
too
works.
though, right? Working for, that's different. Working for or with a girlfriend, and which the initial question Regina was asking, would you refer a girlfriend to a position or a
Right.
job? And then working for someone could potentially be very different, because you do need to really know yourself and that friend if you're going to
Yes.
take on working for them.
Yeah.
That's a very good point, Marcy. Because a lot of people
Lisa.
don't necessarily know how to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to be very good. Welcome back, Lisa. Living the Zoom life is so interesting.
I know.
Yeah. So it takes you do, that's when you want to go to another good girlfriend who knows the two of you and have the conversation about, so what do you think about this? And if they're your good, they'll be able to tell you, I don't think that's a good move, or you can do that, go ahead, So
I would agree, Marcy.
absolutely. I'm out of our village. I'm the only girlfriend that works for another one of the girlfriends, so you have to really, Lisa, we were talking about the difference between, referring a girlfriend to a position and then potentially working for a girlfriend. And I was saying that you have to really know yourself, or that's when you go get one other good girlfriend and say, can the two of us really work together? Because you might say, I think I can do this. And a girlfriend like, I'm not so sure. Or that, or they can really, really have a serious talk to you about, what that really might look for you. And it could also depend on the job as well. But, that's a situation where you need to be sure that can work. Because if you really relish that friendship and you want that to stay intact, you need to also decide then, is this going to be a good move from a career perspective? And what's it going to look like for you? You're going to be able to separate that, that work from the non-work. And is your relationship still going to be intact?
Yeah. I think it can be done.
Oh, I'm a
She's
witness.
I'm
a living witness. I'm 10, 15 years in. No doubt.
I didn't know you all been working together.
I did it. Yeah, I did it for 6 years with Candace.
And you know what's crazy about that? Marcy's dynamic is the girlfriend that she works for. Like when for a minute, we were always together. So it's like, you know, how you work, if you worked with your spouse and then you came home to your spouse. So
Yeah.
that was, you know, interesting. That can be interesting also.
Yeah,
Yes,
Because,
we
you
all-
know, there was
just a
no,
quick background for you, Lisa. Marcy and Jeanette are a part of a group of ladies that are referred to as the Village, and they raised their children together in Philadelphia. I'm gonna let Jeanette or Marcy tell the story about the Village, but anyway, so Marcy works for another lady in the Village, so that's what they're talking about, and they literally spent all of their time together. Like that. Yeah.
Wow.
You talk a little bit about the Village, Jeanette. Tell her just a little bit about the
well, so I mean, basically, as Cara stated, we came together, we raised our kids together from elementary school until now. So the children now have their own bond, and the mothers have their own bond. And it really was a community rearing children together, many different professions. And I say this all the time. I am so grateful to all of my Village sisters because I mean, they helped me raise Nile. Nile is who
Yeah.
she is because of the support of
Yes.
all of the women in my village. That was so important to me. So we, you know, vacation together, celebrations, so many celebrations, so many vacations together. And it's funny because Marcy, you know, again, worked for one of our good sisters. And we also kind of lived together. You know what I mean? A lot of our waking time was together. So there was a blurring of the lines
Oh,
sometimes.
total. Woof, woof.
Uh,
Total.
and
Total.
and we did a whole Facebook Live with the Village mothers on it about a month ago, and
Yeah.
part of the beauty of this village was all of their children went to private schools where they were more than the minority. They were the
Wow.
so that was part of how they all came together because these children were in these private schools in Philadelphia. And so they had their village. They
Right.
had the support of each other in school, and the parents had the support of each other, raising them and cheering them on.
That's amazing.
And like they said, their children have finished college or in college, and the parents are still going strong. So it's a serious
Right. The children have created their own village, and it's really it's just phenomenal and beautiful to watch them together also. So, yeah.
That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
yeah.
To go back to, and I'm glad you got back on, Lisa. I wanted to go back to the self-doubt because that goes into what Jeanette, you said about fear and those type of things. So I just wanted to, sorry guys, I just wanted to kind of hear where some of the things that you did to kick off and kick away that self-doubt, and where your girlfriends and sister girlfriends came in to play with that.
So a lot of it, I think, really just kind of had to do with our conversations back and forth. And, you know, I was having a conversation with a girlfriend one time and, you know, just kind of dealing with that doubt. And she says, well, why do you think you're in the role that you're in? And maybe why the executive didn't put a man in that role. And I'm like, well, I think he wanted to go in a different direction. And it's like, okay, be who you are. Be who you are and be comfortable in your skin. So, you know, one of the things that, you know, I've tried to do is just to do those things that come natural to me. And oftentimes it's kind of talking out things with my good girlfriends. Sometimes it's giving me advice to strengthen me, or sometimes it's telling me things I need to do to tighten things up on another end. But that bond really helps to kind of grow and help me to enrich myself. And I think that's something that we do for each other. I think it's normal for everyone to experience a little self-doubt here and there. But I think part of that friendship is what kind of helps you to get right back on track and remember what your purpose is. So it's always been good to have those good girlfriends or my sisters there to be a support.
I
So
heard you.
I didn't, oh, go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no.
Janelle.
Go ahead, Regina.
So I don't know if I'm not sure if I know this or not. Do you have sisters, biological sisters? You do?
I do. I
Okay.
have two. They're both older.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because I didn't grow up with sisters. I didn't grow up with any sisters. And so I just wonder how that plays out in the scheme of things. So I can't talk about growing up with sisters. So I don't know, biological sisters, because I got sisters everywhere.
Well, hey, listen, I love having sisters. Both my sisters are older. Definitely will share a lot of wisdom, extremely supportive, extremely protective. I can think of one time we were out somewhere at an event and my sister was sitting next to my husband. And another girlfriend came up that my sister didn't know and sat next to my husband, and she was kind of chit chat talking. So she looked at my husband and said, "Hey, you need to move and sit over here." And I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 she's good." Because she was like, "Oh, no, we're not going to have that." But very, very protective. And I love that about them.
I heard you say tonight a couple of times about speak on the importance of being yourself in the role. And I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I think for women in roles of leadership, and we talked about this last week off camera, and non-traditional roles, that we think that we have to assume a masculine persona. And I think that it's important for women to hear that you can embrace who you are, the feminine side of you, and still be a strong leader. And so it's really nice to hear you say, especially when you said initially you were trying to do it different and it didn't feel quite right. And then you started to do things your way, and you kind of gelled with the role.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that is so important, particularly for non-traditional roles. And I think what's so tough is men have tons of examples that have come before them that they can look at and model and emulate. But when you have a woman in a non-traditional role, we have absolutely no framework to work from. Being a first, you're kind of creating that framework yourself that hopefully maybe other women coming up can look at that. You all mentioned Danielle Outlaw. I remember her and another Black female chief, Carmen Bast, when they both were named. It was just so amazing to just watch them and to look at their confidence. And it is so great to be able to just kind of see somebody in that space and imagine yourself kind of being where they are. So I do think it's important to value what your skill set is, and build off of that instead of trying to do it the way somebody else has done it.
Regina, I think that speaks back to your question about if you see positions out there that a friend might be qualified for, that you absolutely, tell them about it and talk to them about it, because there may be some things out there that, we don't know about that we should share.
Absolutely. I believe in that. Because that's truly what networking is all about, right? Because oftentimes people get positions based on somebody saying, I think you would be good for this role. Not because they look through an advertising section and now we don't even now we don't even look in the paper, but we look on LinkedIn, or we see a job come through from other different means. But I know that the organization that I'm with now, we have a whole referral program in terms of that, right? And so and I think that is great, while especially where we are now, where there could be many people, I think during this pandemic, I think one of the things that's happened, many people, some people have not lost jobs, but they're looking for new opportunities, right? Because they've slowed down enough to take a look at themselves, to take a look at where they are, and they're like, you know what? I really don't want to do this anymore.
Yep.
I really want to do something else. Go ahead, Jeanette.
Well, you know what, hearing what you're saying though, I think a lot of people are creating new opportunities for themselves.
Right. That's
also.
true.
And so, you know, just in line with supporting our good girlfriends with new positions, it's important to support their new businesses as well.
I
agree.
Right. And I think COVID has absolutely created so many new entrepreneurs and new young entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Which is wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Because it's allowed us to take the time to slow down, and like, if you were a painter, or if you painted, or if you, whatever it is you did, the young lady, I still have to order my cups from the lady with the coffee cups, because those are amazing. And I have to order them for one of my girlfriends who's a Delta. So I got to look at the Delta cup for her. But I mean, just like, she just like loves to do that. But, you know, and I'm not sure where she was. I think she was, I don't know if she did that before the pandemic, but when sometimes have we had the time to do it? Right. I know I remember these two young ladies that just started baking and started a whole business. They were right here in Prince George's County, you know, and then of course we got Cece was already doing that, but you know, she's had a little more time. So
yeah. Well, back to the point that Jeanette was making about bringing your feminine side to the workplace.
Yes,
and I
that's
think
good.
And we were talking about that last week, Lisa, because you know, though our industries may not be as male dominated as yours, we still find it, some of us, hard to bring, you know, the feminine side to work, because we feel like we have to be so hard just to get our point across and just to be taken seriously, and you know, just to even be seen a little bit at the table. So it was interesting to hear you repeat yourself saying that, you know, you're able to bring your authentic self to work, because to me that says, yeah, I'm a female, I'm the head, and I'm bringing my perspective as a woman, you know, to the office. So that's really interesting, because I mean, I picked up on that too, Jeanette, when she said it, that, you know, it's interesting. Here I am, I'm not in the role that, you know, is, you know, that I'm not the leader, and I'm not well, I am in an industry that's dominated by men, but at the same time I do marketing, which is typically mostly women. And I still feel like I can't, you know, necessarily come, you know, completely authentically as myself. I'll just say it like that. I can't bring my authentic self to work. I don't. So, you know, so it's refreshing to hear that.
It really is. Because a lot of women struggle with that, not being able to bring their authentic or be their authentic self in the workplace. So you're living, and many folks live a double life, or a life of duplicity, they say, right? How can you be happy? You spend most of your time at work. And so, you know, the feminine perspective is powerful. So we should embrace it. And other people, you know, as women, we don't embrace it because, you know, the feminine side is thought of as weak. Right. When, you know, right. And so we have to change that narrative. The more we shy away from, you know, really embracing our feminine energy, then the more we perpetuate that narrative that it is weak, when we know different. So
Exactly.
Great.
And sometimes I think it's embracing that feminine energy, and sometimes we have to care less about how people view it. I think sometimes we're wondering, how do we come off? Am I coming off kind of bitchy? Am I coming off, you know, this kind of certain way? And we're so much into our heads that, you know, it's kind of hard for us to shed all of that background noise versus kind of establishing who you're going to be and being fair and, you know, being decent and respectful to people. And sometimes we have to be okay with people not thinking a decision we've made is good, or we have to be okay with people thinking we should be doing something else. And I just think kind of sometimes as women, it kind of ties into that whole, we're always trying to take care of and make sure other people are okay. And, you know, we kind of worry more about what it is they're feeling than for us to kind of walk in the way we need to be walking.
Mhm.
That is very, 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 very true.
Yeah.
I think embracing the femininity in every aspect, because many times when we don't, I have seen it in friends of mine who are in male dominated positions, and they come to a female organization with that male dominated energy. And I even had to tell a friend of mine, do not bring that male dominated energy over here. Cause who are you talking to? I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but and so when you're able to be your authentic self at work and in other organizations, I think that allows you to be the authentic. It just hit me when you said that, because I was like, I had to really coach a friend off the ledge, because I was like, they're not listening to you because you talking to them like you are at work with all the men around you. And I understand I understand, bring that there. But when you come here, let's
Leave that,
right. Let's dial it back a little bit.
Right. But that's also when girlfriends come into play, because sometimes it's hard to leave that. We had Kara's friend on before talking about, how in the corporate workplace one way and then at home another way. And sometimes it's hard to make that transition. It's hard to leave one at the door. So it's hard to pick one up on the way out the door. And, sometimes you need mentorship, you need sometimes therapy, you need sometimes someone to help you through that. So that, as Lisa said, just be who you are and be okay with that. And sometimes, everything is not going to always work out in a good way, but at the same time, things will work themselves out. And there were lessons to be learned along the way. Regina, as you say, as we're, working to be just our authentic selves. And sometimes that balance and that dance is, I call it the dance, sometimes that dance is, sometimes it's some fast beat music and sometimes it's slow, but you're, constantly trying to do the dance to really, find that good spot for yourself.
Yeah. And I think that because for me at least, I mean, totally being transparent, I know that I don't bring my full self to work. I've never felt, no, I don't think most of my career I've ever felt that I could bring my full self to work and, felt comfortable doing that. And I think that for me, that's why my sister friends have been so important, because when I leave that there, and I'm really good at leaving work at work, and when I leave out of there, I can be me, and I crave being around my girlfriends or the feminine energy. I enjoy that because I've had that full experience of having to be so blah at work, not being the full woman that I would like to be. So,
But imagine if you are carrying your masculine energy home to your husband or your significant other.
Right.
So now you bring that masculine energy home, and your husband has his, his own masculine,
right.
And heavens forbid they embrace any feminine energy, right? So I mean, that's an issue.
Yeah, right.
I think that it's just important for us to, when we were having this conversation, and I was saying, if you're in the boardroom, if that's your role and you're the CEO and you're a female and everyone, that's working with you or underneath you are all men, you can still lead and still be feminine. You don't have to assume the male persona.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because
Right.
by, you've earned the right, you've paid your, you have worked your way up to that position. So they, by virtue of you getting the job and you being excellent, because if for women, we have to be better than excellent, for Black women especially, you can lead with your feminine. You can still
Yeah.
embrace that.
Yeah.
But I guess
Because
sometimes,
you're not bucking heads with the men in
right.
the room either. That causes a problem when you're a female. This is my opinion. I said that in the beginning. If I'm trying to be a man and I'm leading men, I wasn't put in that position because I'm a
Right.
male. I'm put in that position because I'm who I am. And
Yeah.
so that's what I'm leading with.
Mhm.
And I think that that's where we need
That's
to
good.
spend more time, kind
Yeah.
of being comfortable in that space.
Yeah.
And Lisa gets it. Lisa gets it. She's been
Totally, she gets
saying
it.
you've been on the call. That's why I think it's fabulous. You get it.
And the other thing I find though is sometimes when you are more of your authentic self, you find there are other people that's trying to take that mask off too and
Yeah.
be their authentic selves.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of waiting for that loving opportunity or environment to be able to do that. So I think it's important. And I
Yeah.
think it's,
Yeah.
these forums like this, just getting together. I mean, many of you, we're just meeting, but already just so many things are just the same, whether you're a police chief or in marketing or wherever it is, we kind of all walk in that same way and deal with those same issues. So it is just so important sometimes to just be able to vibe and talk about it.
Yeah. Yep. That's for sure. Yeah. Woo.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm encouraged just hearing you. That's what I'm saying. I'm sitting here thinking, well, if you can be with police people
Right.
that way and you can be that way, then why can't I do that? Like that right there. That's what I'm saying. That these are encouraging messages. So tomorrow I might try something new.
Uh-oh.
Let me know, friends, tomorrow what you try.
I know.
I know.
And
Let me know too.
don't let it involve any curse words either.
She's like, oh, gee.
Yeah, that's not the authentic self
No, I was
that
gonna
we.
say,
I
not
don't use
level
that
of
kind of
authentic self.
language in that.
No, no.
Of course not. I'm
Not
sorry.
that.
My
Use
apologies.
that kind of
Right.
language at all.
Right.
Except
Nothing.
maybe at
Not
the grocery store.
right. Right.
When
Nothing
people are not standing 6 feet, huh?
right. Nothing that's not part of the HR in the HR manual.
The
You can't-
HR model.
Right. You can't come out of the HR model at all.
Please
You
stay
gotta
in that.
right, stay in that because we want you to keep your day job. Right.
Right.
I'm trying to keep my day job a little longer.
Yes.
Yeah, but we definitely owe it to ourselves, I think, sometimes to just be who we are and be the
Yeah.
best we can. And
Yeah.
that's it.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think people receive it.
Do we have any questions on the Facebook page, Cara?
No,
I'm
I
sorry.
don't see any on mine. If you all shared yours, if you have some, let me know. But I don't see any on here as of yet. Just a lot of comments. We have some people saying preach. That's Stephanie Wall, by the way. She said preach. I'm not sure when she said that, but something you said hit home with her. So
Oh, I miss Stephanie Wall. That was a good girlfriend at work that we could go in the room and close the door and just sometime take the mask off for the day for just a moment and have some conversation. Because sometimes it's like, you need one other person to say they see the same thing that you see.
yeah.
And that's important.
That
Right.
is
Definitely important.
Yeah, yeah, I know. At least in every company that I've been in, I've had at least one of those, and that's all. Like you said, as long as you have one person, that you can do that with. I mean, I remember a time when I was working in a company. We actually had, I think, 4 or 5 of us in the marketing department, and we used to go into whenever we had issues or we had concerns. We would meet back in the day when we had copiers, we had a copier room. We would meet in the copier room and pray together. We'd meet there because it was a closed room, so no one could see that we were in there. There were no windows. And because every time we would come to like my office, people would walk by and say, "Oh, you're having a party," or they make comments because Black women are all in the room. So we go where no one could see us, and we would pray together because that's all we had. We were all we had, and we needed each other.
Right.
It got us through a lot of stuff. Let's just say.
Right. And that's the other thing. Sometimes, our women sisters don't have other women.
Yeah.
Even Jeanette, to your point, like sometimes are you, realizing that you need to, just be your authentic self, or you need to check that persona at the door and you're not. And the next thing you know, it's walking in the door and folks' eyebrows are kind of raised at you, kind of like, who,
Right.
who came in? So, sometimes you're not, there's not an awareness. And to me, again, that's when a good girlfriend comes in and kind of taps you on the shoulder with some love and said, hey, yo, let's kind of talk it out, or, maybe this is the issue.
And how often do, as Black women, as mothers, as daughters or whatever, how often do you see, have you seen, do you get to see your mother or a woman that you look up to check their persona at the door? You know what I'm saying? Most, matriarchs of the family, they got a little male energy.
Right. They got right.
Right?
They got yeah,
Right.
right.
But they do, when dealing with the children or when dealing with their husbands or significant partners, it's different. And that's something that a lot of children, we're very in a traditional families, you don't see everything because a child stays in a child's place, right? But it's important for other young girls, young women to see that, you don't have to, you can be, it's nice to embrace that feminine side of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So we have to show examples.
Yeah, the message for the evening is bring your authentic self.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
try it out. Try it out at least. Look now.
Try it out.
If
Try
I
it
come
out.
back and ask for a referral from one of you all for a job, you'll know what happened. But I'm going to try it out. I'm going to try
Try it out.
Go ahead,
Go for
Cara.
it. And I think too, probably most important is for us to understand, particularly in the workplace, that we should not be each other's competition. And
Mm.
sometimes that is just so tough. Oftentimes there aren't many of us in a space. And just being mindful of, if Regina is successful, if she making it, then that's wonderful, because
Right.
that's somebody I can go to, and vice versa, and we have to pull each other up. And I just think sometimes, particularly amongst our ladies, we kind of forget and think that we're competing against each other rather than we should be uplifting each other in a space.
Right.
Yeah. We
That-
have a couple comments now. Juanita, who is usually on with us lives, has a comment. She says, I'm middle management in Howard County, and there weren't any African American women when I came. I had to prove myself extra hard. We know about that, Juanita. Look, trust me, that's been my experience in a lot of my career as well. So we understand, and we're here to support you, Juanita, on that.
Yeah. We have a Lisa, one of our village girlfriends who she was on a couple weeks ago. She's a former city council. She always has a saying. She said, I have to walk a tightrope with high heels backwards,
Yes,
to prove that I'm even just as good or better,
exactly.
than some of the other folks that I work with.
Yeah.
And so
I just
totally.
think sometimes as women, we have to pick and choose our battles. I mean, I think we probably experience that every day, all day. But, every incident doesn't have to be a battle, but we have to know those incidents where we got to stand our ground and make sure people are clear about what
Right.
the boundaries are or the respect that we deserve, regardless of what our title is.
Yeah, we have
Right.
another comment from Lynette Sutton. She said, yes, as women in construction, you don't need to be a man at home. That's another
Yes.
industry that
Yes.
male
Nettie,
dominated.
that's one of our good Philly girlfriend who
Oh, okay.
has, right, who has her own business. We'll have to bring her on.
That would be
She
great.
girl contracting. In fact, she just got project or start an initiative with the Philadelphia 76ers.
Nice.
So it'll be nice to talk to, she and her husband have their own contracting business called Girl Contracting. So
We could bring her
absolutely.
and Dana on.
Yeah.
Yes,
I bet.
yes. So yeah,
Same.
so thanks, Nettie, for that comment. Absolutely.
And then one of my dearest and closest friends said, her name's Allison Tucker. Now she has two comments. Her first one was, now that is a word. Don't compete with your sisters. Lift each other up. And her next comment is also, I was blessed to work with some phenomenal Black women at a former job. Am I allowed to say what your former job was? Because I want to say it, Allison. Okay, I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to, but let's just say she worked for a sports it's not a sports team. Sports entity, all male sports entity. Anyway, she said former job who looked out for each other and supported each other. We support each other at work and built relationships outside of, I can't see the rest of her comment, outside of work.
Yeah.
Oh, she said yes. Yeah, I can say. So she worked for the NFL Players Association. So, and yeah, she has a wonderful group of girlfriends. I've been blessed to be a part of some of their outings and have gotten to know quite a few of them as well. And yes, they supported each other at work. They had a great network. I forgot that it was the NFL having hung out with them because they had such a great group of women working there, African American women. So, so yes, thank you for that comment, Allison. Oh, sorry, Allie. I just saw your comment that I could say it was NFL. I thought you already said that, but anyway. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, these are great comments and all pointing to the fact that we as women can come to work as our authentic selves and we can support each other and that we have to support each other and we are not each other's competition. And also another point I heard today, I listened to a talk by Minda Harts. I don't know if you all have heard of her. She wrote a book called The Memo, and it's about Black women in corporate America or finding your seat at the table, basically. And she said, nowhere in job descriptions does it say that we should be grateful. So we don't need to get there and act like we're just grateful for getting a position because we already know, as we've already said, that we had to walk on water basically to get there. So there's no reason once we're there that we need to feel like we should just feel like we're grateful for being there. We should be grateful in our hearts, but we shouldn't act like that that's all we're here for is just to be grateful. We have more to do. And I thought that was an important point today. I was like, you're right. Like, yes, we're grateful for all opportunities because we're grateful people, but the fact that you gave me a job, that's not the end of it. It's, I'm here to do a great job and and I deserve to be in this position as well. And we need to remember that sometimes. So yeah. All right. We've got our two special guests here and that's Stephanie Wall coming in and I see Valerie is on. So I'll introduce Valerie while we have our other guests coming in. There's Stephanie. So Valerie, so at this point in our live, we like to highlight African American female owned businesses. And so we have two people with us. We've got Valerie Miller, and I met Valerie, I don't know, it's been some years now, Valerie, but for anyone who's ever complimented any multiple outfits of mine on Facebook, I probably purchased some of them from Valerie. She used to have a boutique in her basement and I loved going there. She had some fabulous items. So that's how we became friends. I met her through my husband, who is a photographer and shot with her a few times. And he kept telling me, you gotta meet Val. And as soon as I met Val, I don't know how many things I've purchased from Val, but we're going to hear from her. She's actually you're not doing clothing anymore, I don't think, but she has a new initiative that she's going to tell us about. And we've also been joined by Stephanie Wall, who you all have already heard about from Lisa, who she's retired from the police department, Howard County Police Department, but we're going to hear from her as well about some activities that she has in place and some business ventures going on in her life. So we'll start with you, Val. How are you?
Hi, ladies. I'm good, Carl. How are you? Thank you
You're
so
doing
much for
well.
having me on this evening. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're quite welcome. You're so talented. I wanted to make sure everyone had a chance to see what you're doing these days. Tell us a little bit about it.
I appreciate it. I have pivoted from the boutique. I am now CEO and owner of Bling Makes Me Smile. It's an online business. I am an risen artist, and I specialize in coasters and trees and home decor. And it kind of was birthed in the pandemic. You know, I've been a creative basically all my life. So it was kind of also like an art therapy and allowed me to relax. It allowed me to do something that I love. And it was birthed in the pandemic. And I'm really excited about it and enjoying the journey.
Do you have any of your pieces nearby that we can see? If
I could get some. I could
Okay,
go.
well, let's see a little. I think people should see at least a little sample of and you can come back. We can go to Stephanie if you like, and you can come
Absolutely.
back and share some with us because I think if people see what you're doing, they'll see how talented you are.
Okay, I'll get something.
Okay. So Stephanie, hi
Yes, Miss
Stephanie,
Cara.
how
Hey,
are you?
I'm doing. I was trying to check in and check out all this good chatter while I was over there trying to represent at Toastmasters.
You're busy. You're like you and Regina. You are like Regina. You all have a lot going on Thursday evening. So we're just
Oh,
thankful that you're here. We're just thankful you could join us for a few minutes. So thank you for coming in.
thank you.
You know, when you're like when you have these positions, I'm telling you, you and Regina, you have to represent all of us black women all over Howard County. Look, we you all are representing all of us, all us sisters out there. So thank you for that. Thank you for
Thank
all you
you.
do to represent us well.
And I was supposed to be a guest, just watching. Folks try to throw you in. Like, this is where the guests speak. I was like, wait a minute. I thought we supposed to just be here observing. See, I'm here to observe, right? But I rose to it. I rose to the tabletop and talk about music.
Oh, you talked about music earlier? Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice. Well, tell us about what you're working on right now. Like, I know you've written a book.
Yes. So, look, I heard Miss Miller there say that what was birthed then in the pandemic was her business. And so I will not say my business wasn't birthed in the pandemic, but I will say that I launched in the pandemic. Let me say that I was working my way through it, and I think I got the courage to launch it all the way out and tell everybody about it during the pandemic. But I am the CEO of Speaker Stephanie LLC. And what that is I'm a speaker, I am an author, and I'm a coach. And while doing all of those things, in my coaching and my speaking, I created a group during the pandemic called Her Story, Our Story, 1 hour of power. But I would just throw it out there and see what it would do. It now has over 340 members in that group. And so when I thought about writing, thank you, Regina. And when I thought about I wrote a book in 2014 that was called "How My Part-Time Job Saved My Life," a true story of overcoming, right, and living a victorious life. And then, as a matter of fact, that book is now being the second edition because the first book it was like, wait a minute now. When I look back at it, I'm like, who wrote this? That is not no. So no, who wrote this? Wait a minute, we don't need this. Look, but that's a whole nother talk shop. But that everybody wants to know, well, what happened. You kind of left us on the edge there. So I'm going to support you coming. But as I was thinking about writing another book, I was going to write a book called Her Story, but not saying the same story. And when I thought about it, you pray about it and all of that, it was like that book's not for you. You have a group called Her Story, and these women have stories, and I mean significant stories. And I've heard like Dr. Sherwood, it says that your story is about you, but it's not for you. And so I created this group so that I can help other women come in and know that yeah, we all have a story, but your story does not define you. And so every Wednesday, at 6:30, I have my own platform like this, and I bring in speakers. And I mean, there's no no's, and I mean, they're all over the world. These women are coming in and building into these women. So I put it out there. Listen, I went and got a graphic called Her Story, Our Story, and created this graphic and put it out there and said, does anybody want to join me on this book project? So there is myself and 6 other women, and their stories are just, I mean, phenomenal. And all of them, this was huge for them to even tell their story. Like, right, put it on paper. It's hard to tell your story out loud,
Yeah.
but to put it on paper, because it's out there for the world. And so even when we were prepping for it, I told them, listen, whatever your story you're going to share, because we have lots of them, make sure it's one that you're prepared to tell over and over again for the rest of your life, because this is going into a book.
Wow.
And we're not just going to write it, we're going to talk about it. And so we have been, like, even tomorrow we have they're going to be on their first platform.
Wow.
So I'm the visionary, and then so the whole group, we're going to be on, and we have platform at the platform. I mean, everybody wants us to come on to help us to market the book. So the book will actually, the pre-launch starts on the tomorrow actually, but the book will actually be in hand in May. So it's a lot going on. I created a summit, virtual summit.
You gotta come back. You gotta come back in May.
Oh yes, ma'am. Can I bring them back? I would love for them to be able to tell you about their story.
Yes.
Awesome sauce.
Yes, we would. I would love to hear that. Yes, that would be awesome. So, what did you say? It was a speaker, Stephanie.
Yep, Speaker Stephanie LLC.
LLC.
And if you go to speakerstephanie.com, that's my website.
Okay, so that's how they can reach you for that. Speakerstephanie.com.
Mhm.
Okay, so Val looks like she's. Wait, Stephanie, was there more going on, or is that?
Oh no, go on. I saw Val coming out that closet or that room or somewhere, and I was like, "What's she getting ready to bring out?" Because I like clothing too.
Well, this was not clothing, but let's see what Val has. Val,
okay, what you got?
What you
I do have a couple of things. I don't know if you can really get a good eye, because I should have had my light on, guys. I totally apologize, but I wasn't prepared to show and tell. But these are some of the coasters, and it's really blingy, but you can't see it without the light, so I apologize for that. And then this is like the tray. It can also be wall art, or it can be you can put it on a stand. And then
How do you make these? How do you make that? How do you cut that shape out?
it's resin. It's a resin art. I have different molds that I use. I paint on different things. Like, this is another tray that I painted on, and it has the I paint on this one, and then this is, like I said, this is resin art on top of it. So it's different techniques, but I love it. I love it. That's all I can say.
What are the price points for some of your art? Like, how much are the coasters?
So the coasters for a set of 4 start at $30, and the trays are $70. And for a set of the tray and the coasters, that's $100. So because it takes time to do it, like, it takes me at least 7 to 10 days to make it, and for it to cure and dry properly, and sometimes it can take even longer than that, depending on how large the piece is. So but again, it's art therapy, and it's relaxing. I really enjoy it.
That's awesome. So how can people reach you if they want to purchase some art, if they want to see it? How would they be on the website?
I do. It's blingmakesmesmile.com.
blingmakesmesmile.com. Okay, we're putting it in the Facebook chat. And that's where, so are these one of a kind pieces, or are these
pieces? None are alike, not even close to being similar to each other. They may have colors, but every piece is different.
Do you do custom orders?
I do custom orders, absolutely. And you can really get a better look and see the products much better than tonight. If you go on the website, you can get a real better view of how they look. The quality is excellent. The heat, you can put heat on them, and they're food safe as well. So the products are also FDA safe. So, yeah.
Awesome, ladies. Well, thank you both for sharing those with us. We put them in the Facebook chat so people can reach out to you and get in contact with you that way. So thank you both. And Stephanie, you made some comments on our Facebook post, but did you have anything you wanted to add personally about our discussion? You know, you've worked in the police force in the past, so I'm sure you have a whole lot of stories you could share. But didn't wanted to make sure I gave you a chance to share anything that you wanted to share.
Well, one, I was popping in and out, and when I came back, I was like, "Ooh!" So let me just say this. So I heard Chief Myers, Lisa, my good girlfriend, right, talking about who inspired her. And so I, everywhere I go, and now and back when I was still with the police department, and we talked about whose shoulders we stood on, right? You got to know from where you came right from the get go. And I knew, and sadly, when I joined the police department, I remember Penelope, then I think she was Branch, said, "Stephanie, welcome to the police department. You're number 14." I was like, holy cow, right? That's number one, right?
Hey.
We got a number 14, what, black woman? Wow. Okay.
14
Yes.
women?
We were
Wow.
counting. Yes. And I remember at some point I looked up the number again and it was 14 again. I said, wait a minute. So Lisa, tell me it's more than 14 now. So now, but I will tell you, so Karen Burnett for sure. I mean, Karen Burnett was the first, 1984, for crying out loud, which was not that long ago. The first black female police officer, 1984. Soak on that for a while, chew on that. But she certainly influenced me. But nobody influenced me more than Lisa Myers.
Wow, that's awesome. That's beautiful.
Listen, when you have, you need to good girlfriends. The ones that'll be like, so let's talk about, listen, like have a real talk with you, like it was, if there was something that wasn't for you, that, the people that bring a bone, that they're not really for you. They want to say things to hurt you, right? Those not your real friends.
Right.
But your real good girlfriend's gonna make sure you don't get hurt without having to hurt you in the process. Example, if she knew I was floating around and hanging around somebody that was really not in my corner, she would just simply say, something to the kid, just be careful and keep it moving. And I knew that meant, that person, let's be careful, watch, just be careful of yourself. Like, right? Yeah. And if I needed some more conversation, you come back, but she wasn't going into that, what they said, but you know what I mean. I don't need to say anything further, but she also led by example. You see, we need to know it's hard to grow. It's hard it's hard to elevate. It's hard to envision, right? You know how we always talk about manifesting. Well, you can't manifest something that you don't see, right? We can try that, and that does work, but it makes it and that makes me restate that you can manifest something that you don't see, because that's what faith is, right? But it makes it a whole lot easier when you have an example, a human example that you can prop down in their office and speak your truth, and they hear you, and they don't tell you, they don't sugarcoat it, they don't tell you any lies. They tell you, okay, listen, that is tough what you're going through, and you should be angry, or you should be upset about that. But now what we're gonna do? Now what we're gonna do, right? So that's when your good girlfriend tell you put on your big girl panties, because we're better than this. And in closing, when you are afraid to move to the next step, and they tell you it's bigger than you. Now that is your real good girlfriends, because they're not just showing you that they're not in competition. They're telling you, they're showing you, they're mirroring, and they're promoting, and they're doing everything you need to just say, girl, listen. They're all but saying, listen, go ahead and grab onto my coattail. And while you whining back there about how you can't do it, listen, they're saying, no, put your shoes on, tie your shoes, let's go. We'll figure it out on the way. And that is what I had the benefit from. So I had it as a police officer, coming up and watching her grow, and coming up and just coming behind her. And I was blessed in that place. And now everybody that works there, man, they're blessed to have her as a chief, and they better know it. They'll be talking about her. She is her story, and it is his story. They will be talking about Lisa Myers when Lisa Myers is gone on and got her wings. And that's a fact.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. I got to buy that book now.
You don't buy it anyway. That's what girlfriends do.
I just thought about something, and I don't know if she's watching, but my sister actually, I guess, kind of worked in law enforcement, and she was a first. My sister was the first African American, and she's female, Black, oh, I said African American, sorry, first African American forensic chemist for the state police, Maryland State Police.
Oh my goodness, that is very nice.
Yeah, and
Wow.
and had a tough time, trust me. I mean, that was a tough road, but she persevered, and they have their own little network of chemist girlfriends. She just told me that they're planning a vacation next year once we get past COVID. But yes, some came behind her, and you know, they've stayed connected, and yeah, but she was the first one.
Wow, that's amazing. That was a tough place to work.
That was in the 80s too. That's why it wasn't that long ago. It's just so sad that, you know, and they might not even have any there now because it was so horrible there for some of them that they left and moved on. So, you know, I'm not even sure they have any at this point. I don't know if they even got to 14, Stephanie. I know that, I'm sure they didn't get to set 14.
Listen, you know, Miss Emma Young, that was what she was the first, well, one after Herman Charity, she was the first African American at the Howard County Police Department, and then she ended up being the first over at the something, I think dispatch or something at the state police. Just a bunch of firsts. But if you let her tell her stories, well, you can read about it. You know, when you just read the articles when she was hired, and just the terminology. I know that's what they used back in those days, but that was just it's hard to hear, it's hard to read, because she's such a sweet woman, right? And I was blessed to work with her, right? She just recently retired. And you know, when you think about even first, how crazy is it that in my lifetime, the first of most of every, almost of, actually all of the first Black African American females in the police department, I work with all of them.
Wow.
That were still like, that didn't retire, because right, pretty much. I mean, we still talking about the Tara was the first captain, right? You were the first chief. Karen was the first everything. Actually, you know, she was the first, so she was the first sergeant. But 1984, that sticks with me. And when I retired, how is it that there was the highest rank? Okay, when I retired, the highest ranking African American was Chief Myers. I was so glad that she was the chief, and when she was able to retire me and do my ceremony. And then second highest ranking African American was me, African American female. So I don't know. I guess it's Terrence now, right?
Wow.
Bad.
I just want to share a couple comments. First one is for you, Val. Allison commented on one of your pieces, not sure which one, but something struck her, and she said, "That's beautiful, OMG." And then we also have another comment from Juanita that says, "Aren't we tired of saying first Black woman to do anything?" That's a whole nother Facebook Live. But
that's a whole other Facebook Live. We are tired, but listen, but we will stop talking about it when we stop having it happen.
Yeah. It's sad that here we are. I mean, it is sad that we're still talking. We have so many things that we haven't even achieved the first in yet. I mean, there's room for each one of us on the screen, you know, to be the first at so many things, because there's so many areas of this.
There still has never been elected in Howard County a county council person. Woman.
Yeah.
There
Woman.
you go, Regina.
Woman. African American county council woman.
There you go, Regina.
I'm just stating, Stephanie.
I'm just saying, there you go, Regina.
I got Regina's name all over it.
That's your gift. That's your lane. You know, everybody be saying, listen, I got my lane, you got yours.
As I said, I'm very proud of both Regina and Stephanie and Lisa for representing my county very well. You ladies are doing a phenomenal job out here in Howard County. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So yes, thank you ladies for coming. I mean, each of you, Lisa, Val, Stephanie, thank you for being our guest this evening. This has been a wonderful conversation. Lisa, I just want you to know that there are so many of us that are out here praying for you and lifting you up that you just have no idea. But you were in our thoughts and prayers, and we're just so proud of you. We couldn't be more proud of you.
Oh,
And
thank
we
you.
appreciate you taking the time out tonight to share, your story and how you're keeping yourself grounded and giving us the inspiration to shine brightly in our own in our
Well,
own.
thank you.
So thank you so much. And Val, thank you so much. We're gonna have you back with some light because I want people to see all the phenomenal pieces. So we'll come back. We're gonna have you on again so you can share. I'm sorry that I apologize if I didn't tell you to bring your pieces and make sure we could see them because I love them. So I wanted to make sure everyone else sees them. So
I
please
just
go out and
appreciate
visit
the opportunity.
Val's website, blingmakesmesmile.com.
Mhm.
Stephanie, you're always a joy. You just bring it, girl. You always bring it every time. So thank you so much for jumping on. I know you were double booked tonight, but you made a way to get here for us, and I appreciate that.
No, I
Thank
thank you,
you.
and I thank you for inviting me. Thank you. This has been awesome because y'all had some good
You have,
stuff.
you have to come back with your crew in May so we can hear the stories. I want to hear these, hear about the book, and I want my copy signed.
Yeah,
So
for sure, for sure. Thank you, thank you.
So thank you, ladies, so
Oh,
much. This has been awesome. Anyone have any closing remarks before we go?
no.
All right. Well, everyone, we hope that
It's
you all.
Friday Eve.
Oh, I know.
Enjoy yourself.
Juanita wasn't here to
Yes,
say that
yes.
for us today. It's Friday Eve. So, yes, enjoy. Have a wonderful weekend. We hope we've been a blessing. I always say these are blessings to me, but we hope that we bless someone out there and we will see you all next week. Next week's topic, we already know next week's topic. We're going to be talking about building a legacy and the importance of legacy. So, come back for that. Join the conversation. Let us know if you want to be a part of it, but we'd love for you to join. If not on Facebook, share this with your friends and family. And we have a YouTube channel. Please go to our YouTube channel, Good Girlfriends, and subscribe. We have most of our episodes out there. I think we have almost all of them at this point. But definitely, please go there and subscribe. And please come back next week for another discussion. So I love you, ladies, and have
Hey,
a
love you guys.
Thank you all. Be
Thank
safe.
you.
Thank
You as
you.
well.
bye.